We're in North Carolina talking with Brian. Brian, you're with Allworth Money Matters.
Guys, greetings. Thanks for taking the call.
Hey, thank you.
And as a longtime podcast listener, I really appreciate what you guys do. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you. How did you find us?
I listen to another podcast regularly, and you were advertised through that podcast, and so I thought that's a topic I should.
I didn't know we advertised.
Yeah, so it's been I've been listening to you for a couple 3 years now. So
great. Well, thank you. I did not know we advertised on another podcast.
Me neither.
Oh.
Me neither.
Well, thank you, marketing team.
Yes.
So my question relates to some incremental savings that I've built up that I want to deploy better than I've got it deployed right now, I think.
Okay.
And so let me give you sort of some core sort of financial info about me. I'm 44 years old, married, 2 children, 15 and 12. My wife and I both work. The household income, it's a little bit hard to tell you what that is because it fluctuates a lot, but I'm going to peg it at $300,000 a year. We have currently about $660,000 in pure retirement savings across 401ks, IRAs. I also have a brokerage account with a broker that's got about $140,000 in it. And of course, I pay a fee for him to manage that. And just candidly, I've been pretty underwhelmed with the performance of that account. Which has led me to start thinking, okay, as I've built up this incremental cash, which I'll talk about in a minute, how can I deploy it better? So initially my goal in saving up cash was to just build a sort of traditional, 6-month kind of an emergency fund, which I would say I would be comfortable at, $60,000-ish in that account. Well, over time, and I've been keeping that money in a high yield savings account, which currently gets a yield of about 3.8%. But over time, I've been fortunate to I max out 401k, so I've done everything I can on those fronts. So with the extra money I have, I've continued to throw it into this high yield savings account that currently has a balance of $275,000 in it. And it's just not, I think it's not doing the work it ought to be doing, but I've had great inertia about how to deploy it better. I've thought, okay, maybe I need to open a Vanguard, a Fidelity. Should I get into index funds? But then I wonder, should I do it in one big chunk? Should I do it over time? I'm just not sure how to start navigating towards those options. Yeah.
Right. How much term life insurance policy do you have on yourself?
So I've got good question. I've got both the max I can get through my employer and some supplemental. So I've probably got about $1.5 million on me and probably about $500,000 on my wife.
All right. Okay. And what do you owe on your house?
So I just bought a new house several years ago when the rates were great. So I do owe about here. I'm going to pull that. I just pulled that before this call. Let's see. I owe, let's call it $390.
And when do you hope to? And I'm sure it's a rate of 3% or ballpark in that range, right?
2.875. Yep.
And when do you hope to retire? Is that part of your goal? Like, are you saving for retirement? Like, what's the objective here?
Yeah. So, I mean, I sort of think of this extra money, I say extra, the stuff sitting in the high yield as what I would call retirement or retirement adjacent, right? Like if I needed it, right, I could reach for it, but it's really for a longer term than a high yield.
And what about your two kids with?
Yeah. Is there money in the 529 plan for them?
Yes, across both of them, I've got about $150,000 in 529. So that's another. I'm glad you asked. I was going to say, should I throw more into those? I mean, that's another thought.
Your poster child. You're doing a good job. I think you should deploy some of those dollars outside of that cash account. Absolutely. And I
maybe even use like a direct indexing strategy.
Actually, would be perfect for you. Would be perfect.
Which
meaning just buy some market index funds?
No. Build your own.
Okay, so let's explain. Well, this is a perfect scenario for direct indexing. And by the way,
even 2 years ago, you might not have been a good candidate
because the account balances weren't high enough. So they're going down. So let's explain what direct indexing is, Scott. Let's explain why it's relatively new, why most people don't understand how it works, and why it's such a great place for what we call fresh or new cash.
That are outside of retirement accounts.
Outside of retirement account.
Because inside a retirement account, the only time we pay taxes is when we take money out. When we have securities that sit outside of a retirement account, the the stocks will pay dividends, right? We might have some capital gains we need to incur. So with an index strategy is just simply saying, instead of trying to, let's pick the S&P 500 for a second. Instead of trying to figure out which stocks to own or not own, let's just buy the whole index of the 500 largest companies and let's live with the return that's going to have. And historically, it's done about 10% a year over.
So that'd be buying.
And you
traditionally,
you can do that. You can buy Fidelity or Vanguard or Schwab. Everyone's got an index fund now.
That's what you actually,
super low cost.
Brian, that's what you said. You mean like an index fund. We said like an index fund, but not an index fund. This is called a direct index.
And so not too many years ago, when we bought or sold a security, we would have to pay a commission, right? So it was,
whether it was Schwab, Fidelity, wherever.
So that was a pretty significant cost it would be on our portfolio. Today, there's lots of places you can buy and sell without any sort of commissions at all.
So there's no friction in the trading of the security.
And so with a direct index strategy, rather than buying a fund or an ETF that owns those securities, you actually buy all those individual securities yourself. You don't personally, like the technology behind it buys us. And they don't buy all 500. They could get a 99% confidence level with maybe 300 securities. And then they're actively managed not just to maintain that index strategy, but they're managed from a tax standpoint.
So, as an example, let's say you need exposure to the airlines in your index. It may not own Delta, American, United, and Southwest. It might own 3 out of the 4 or 2 out of the 4. But let's say United falls, not saying it will or it did, but let's say it falls by 20%, United. What does the direct index algorithm do, Scott?
It will sell that and buy something very similar.
Buy something similar, but not identical.
Because there's tax loss
It
rules.
will wait 31.
Wash rules.
It will wait 31 days for the wash rule to play itself out, and then decide whether to hold that alternative security or to sell the alternative security and go back to the United
So the benefit
shares.
to you and the benefit to people who use this strategy is a couple things. One is there are some tax loss harvesting that occurs throughout the year. So, and you can dial it in how much you want or not want. So you can, rather than having capital gains, you can literally generate capital losses. And then second, when it's time to use the money, you can cherry pick which stocks. You might, matter of fact, maybe the 150 is not enough to get your kids all the way through school. And you might say, hey, let's take a few dollars of the most highly appreciated securities as part of my index, and let's transfer them to the kids. They can sell it, and they're not going to pay any capital gains tax because their tax rates are so much different than yours.
Or you might say, I need money, and you actually sell something that doesn't have much gain or very little gain. And then you take it one step further, and if you're charitably inclined,
even if it's a small amount on an annual basis, you can cherry pick the...
You take that individual stock, you put it into a donor-advised fund, and then you actually...
You get a tax deduction on the fair market value, and you avoid the capital gains.
Yeah, and then you get great tax strategy behind it, where you actually maybe just fund the donor-advised fund once every 3 or 4 years so that you actually really dig in, right? And so there's so many things around it that, by the way, if we sound excited about it, it's unbelievable. I mean, it is all driven by technology and the fact that there's very little friction in the marketplace to buy and sell these securities. And no one's touching this. It's all algorithmic run. The only time
what's
you're
surprising,
touching...
Pat, is like I've been pretty bullish on this strategy the last couple of years, but the adoption of it is still relatively nascent.
So the only people that you're getting involved in is when you actually say, okay, I need money or I want a gift, or otherwise the algorithm runs it. The last thing to kind of keep in mind here is, as this technology has been not as widely as adopted, the account values that you can actually do this with has fallen
dramatically.
Where it used to be 500,000 or 2 million or 3 million, right? Now I think you can do it. Is it down to 100 grand or?
The fees are more expensive.
There's no question, but they're worth it.
So thank you for that. I mean, conceptually, I follow what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. Tactically, where do you access these things? How does one start?
Any big brokerage firm
or advisory firm.
Yeah. And if they say, what are you talking about? Never talk to them again.
That's right. So I mean, it's really
And I would use 200 of it.
I don't know how the rest of the brokerage stuff is.
Yeah, I don't know how your brokerage looks, but I wouldn't. And if I was worried about the market, maybe I'd go 50 now, 50 in 6 months, 50 in 18 months, 50 in.
You're 44 though.
I'd go all in.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to you're not going to touch these dollars for 20 years.
The one last variable I wanted to throw out to ask about is I've still got lingering. I'm an attorney, so I've got law school debt still. I've paid most of it off, but I've got about $10,000 left at 4% interest.
Oh,
and my thinking has been my money can do better elsewhere, but should I go ahead and pay that off?
I would pay it off. I'd get that behind me.
Just from a psychological standpoint, yeah, I'd pay it off.
This administration,
it's not going to make any difference in your
and
net
by the
worth
way,
one way or the other.
It's behind you. And Brian, this administration is not going to forgive it.
Oh, no chance. I have no thought about that. No, that had nothing to do with my.
No, I would pay it. I would just pay it off. I mean, economically, it's
not going to make any difference.
What's it make? I mean, let's say you could get 5.25 in a high yield. It's $10,000. You know, you're in the tree.
You got $1 million saved, and the $10,000, whether it's paid off or not, it's not going to make any difference. I think psychologically having it paid would.
Yeah.
I feel good.
What type of law do you practice?
Mostly commercial litigation.
There we go. Good times.
Yeah.
Good times.
Guys, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Wait. One other question. Are you self-employed or are you part of a big law firm?
Well, the answer is both. I'm part of a big law firm, but I'm an owner, so I'm technically, for tax purposes, I'm self-employed.
Got it. And you guys don't have a non-qualified deferred compensation plan set up for you guys?
So we do, but I've done everything I can in my contributions to those as I understand it. Maybe I'm not asking the right questions on that.
It's called a non-qualified deferred compensation.
But you're self-employed, so you guys just share the expenses and then
That's correct.
Wait.
Correct.
So wait. What do you for tax purposes?
So you just share expenses.
He's a partner.
That's right, and then we share in the profits. I mean, we're all
it's a partner. It's a partnership.
Okay,
it's a partnership.
You're not self-employed.
All right.
Okay, listen. Yeah, but you great, doing a great job. How is the 529s invested?
So I'm actually in, for reasons that I can't recall, I'm in the South Dakota 529 across several funds in there, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head the exact allocation. I sit down once a year with my broker that I work with, and we just look at the allocations relative to the ages of the children. And frankly, I've wondered, my kids, I went to a private university, and if they wanted to go there, I'm nowhere close to.
Yeah, that's right.
Well enough for that. I mean, I'm well enough funded to cover the average in-state tuition, and I've kind of wondered, should I be throwing more in? Should I be, I've struggled to think about that and know what the quote-unquote right answer is.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to fund it some more, and I'd look at the allocations based upon the age to make sure that was appropriate. So. In that's why I said I'd leave at least $75,000 in cash. Your broker you're working with, is he a financial advisor or just like kind of a traditional?
He is. He's a certified advisor and CFP, and
okay.
Someone I know well personally and trust, and candidly, that's what took me to him. But also, when I feel a little underwhelmed by performance, it complicates the relationship a little.
Well, then I would ask a quick question, like trying to understand why you're disappointed. Maybe you're not, maybe he hasn't been aggressively invested for you. Like, is this a misallocation?
We just had that conversation where when I first opened the account, it was with the only incremental kind of extra money I had. And so I was pretty risk averse. And he, several years ago, put me heavy into bonds because he heard that. And that was a terrible time to be in bonds. And so we've readjusted and had conversations to clarify risk appetites and such.
Yep. I mean, you understand the dance. You're a civil litigator.
and the younger we are, it's like sometimes it's a bit irrelevant how you feel about things. You just need to suck it up a bit on the risk side of things to be a successful investor, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pay daily attention to this. I want to have confidence in a long-term plan and set it and forget it.
That's right. And you're a poster child for direct index. And then I'd come back and revisit the 529s, and I would look at funding those some more.